Welcome, everybody, to the Unfiltered Truth. I am your host, Phil Robinson III. With me, as always, Phil Jones, the incomparable and almighty. What's going on, Jones? How you doing?
Not much, man. Happy Friday. Happy weekend, ladies and gents. Man. End of the season. Didn't go the way we had it planned, but hey, back to the drawing board. You'll be able to shine and do your little thing at the Senior Bowl. Oh, no. Sorry. I'll be at the Senior Bowl. You be at the Super Bowl.
I've worked hard for it. And I, sadly, will make it to the Super Bowl before Derek Carr did. But needless to say, we've got a great show for you coming up. We've got the sports interpreter, Mr. Jesse Merrick, on. We're going to be talking about the end of the season for the Raiders, what we got going on moving forward, and see wherever else it takes us. All that and more on the Unfiltered Truth. Let's start the show. Jesse, welcome to the show. How are you today, boss?
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm doing well, man. Appreciate having me on, man.
No, pleasure is all ours. This season has been a wild one. What's your take on this season?
Yeah, look, I mean, last year was crazy. This one was crazy for obviously very different reasons, thankfully. But just as crazy. I mean, as you look at the entire year, and all those one-score games, I believe it was 11 of them. Just riding that roller coaster ride with the Raiders, it's just crazy to look at it. And really, throughout the entire year, I kept saying, like, I don't know how the heck fans did it. As a media member that's riding the wave of just the football game itself, it was insane. And so I felt like I was going to have a couple heart attacks. I can't imagine how fans were feeling throughout it all. And then just kind of feeling out the McDaniels, first season under him leading the charge there. And then obviously everything blows up with Derek Carr at the end there. And now, people wondering what's next. In terms of this team, taking that, steps forward and hoping to break through and get back to the playoffs next year.
No, for sure. What's the overall feeling behind the franchise moving forward? As obviously the most important news facing Raider Nation is who's going to be the new signal caller and how do we move forward?
Yeah, I think the big thing, honestly, a lot of people not shocked because, I mean, look, as soon as they sat him, like, we all knew, what was going to happen and where this was going to lead. But I think with the news of Derek Carr officially saying goodbye, it puts a bow on it. It takes all, possibility of him coming back, and whatnot. And so, now I think the big thing is everybody's wondering, okay, what's next? Who's the next guy under center? And everybody has an opinion on this one. We've heard Tom Brady thrown out there. We've heard Aaron Rodgers thrown out there. We've heard Jimmy Garoppolo and any other quarterback ever that has any sort of ties to the New England Patriots and Josh McDaniels and his tenure there. On top of that, people are obviously talking about different quarterbacks in the draft and then also Jarrett Stidham. But as we stand here right now, Chase Garbers is the only quarterback that is currently signed on this roster for next season. Obviously, he's not going to be the guy, but that has some people worried about what the future is going to look like for them because, as you noted, most important position on the team, you got to figure that out, especially in an offense like this that everyone says is like learning Mandarin. So if you have someone that doesn't have the ties to him, they're coming in trying to figure this thing out from scratch.
Man, you got to give my guy Chase some more love than that. I watched Chase now.
I knew you were going to say
Chase trust, man. Man, just killing Chase. Anyway. But no, this is a very complicated offense. You've heard Josh Jacobs say it. You've heard Devontae Adams say it. And so it would lend that somebody who's got familiarity would probably be who comes in. Now, but as this thing with Derek progresses, and let's check all our boxes off in their proper order, the issue that's currently on the table is he going to be traded, or is he going to invoke his no trade clause and force the Raiders to just straight up release it?
Yeah, that's like the $1 or $40 million question, I guess. You know, in this one, they got till February 15th to figure it out. Yeah, you see what I did there? You know, I work in TV. I'll be here all day. But you know, look, they got 3 days after the Super Bowl to figure it out. There is going to be a trade market for him, as you noted. He's got the no trade clause, and honestly, like if I'm Derek Carr, in order to get paid the money that I signed on the contract for, I'm going to be willing to waive that no trade clause to certain teams, because I don't think on the open market he's going to get that same type of contract just given the year that he had, you know. So if I'm him, I'm working with him. Having said that, I wouldn't be shocked if some teams out there realize that they're up against it. And also maybe if Derek Carr plays hardball and thinks he can get more money on the open market or likes a different sort of deal going forward, and you know, he wants to be able to pick his team 100% and not be tied to a trade or anything like that. And maybe, who knows, maybe he doesn't want to help the Raiders out or hurt his future team by having them lose draft picks and things like that, draft capital or players, whatever it is, in a proposed trade for him. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen. If you're asking me for my opinion on this one, I think he's going to end up getting cut, you know, because, again, the new league year doesn't start till much later than that, so you can agree in principle. But as a team, the Raiders, you're incurring a lot of risk if a team backs out of the trade or something like that. Then you're stuck paying this dude over $40 million, and you got to figure this thing out. So I would imagine that, you know, they are going to continue, you know, to look at things and see what it is. But at the end of the day, I think he ends up getting cut.
You know, I agree with you, Jesse. I mean, some folks need to understand this is not Alex Smith, where KC was able to pull that with Washington and get that done. This situation right here, when you look at how things played out this season, I mean, some teams are looking like, do I really want to take this risk right now? What are you asking for? And then if you're looking on the Raiders part, yeah, you're absolutely right. A team could pull out that quick and you're shit out of luck.
Exactly. Like, you don't want that to happen. I mean, that would be a bad situation for the Raiders all around. And also, again, like having me saying I think he's going to get cut, that doesn't mean I don't think there's going to be a trade market for him. Because you look at what Carson Wentz got on the open market in terms of the trade market for him. You know, Derek Carr should and can get more than that. The toughest part around this whole thing, as you mentioned, is just the simple fact of what he did with the best weapons around him this year. Obviously, we know that Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller weren't there for a good chunk of the season. But you had, you know, one of the top receivers in the league who was an all-pro, and you had an all-pro running back who led the league in rushing, and it's still, look what happened. So, you know, if I'm a team that's going to be trading for him, I'm thinking, well, this guy had this at his disposal. Yeah, his offensive line wasn't great, but there were spurts, and he had opportunities, and they were right there in all those games and didn't get it done. It's going to be hard to sell to maybe my GM or my owner, whoever it is, to give up a decent amount of capital for that guy, whether that's picks, money, whatever it is. But he's going to find a home, obviously, and he's a starter in this league. Just going to be a matter of how that actually happens.
No, for sure. So let's switch gears a little bit and let's look at this defense. That's it. So I've been in a camp that's been made, dare I say, overly critical of the quarterback play. I'll admit to it, but having finally got an opportunity to see somebody else back there and to see what it could potentially look like, one thing just stood out to me just as fact is that they got to get better on defense.
Yeah, no, I agree with that one. And I know, you know, a lot of people are throwing the stat out there about with Derek Carr and his 9-year tenure, he had the 32nd ranked defense over that span and everything like that. And I think that's a little misleading, you know, because, yeah, you know, there is different defenses and schemes that they've had over the years. You know, they give up a lot of yardage, and they do give up their fair share of points. At the end of the day, it is all about who gets the most points, obviously, in order to win the game. But, like, for me, I look at it specifically with this season. You know, they were in it at times, and the defense came through with stops and gave the offense some opportunities. So I don't think it's quite as bad as some people maybe make it out to be. But having said that, you have got to get Nate Hobbs and Max Crosby some help. And it sucks because you also look at a guy like Trayvon Merrick, who I was very high, seeing him come out of college, very high on him, seeing what he did even last year, thinking, okay, this kid's going to take that next step. A lot of people that I talked to in the organization thought this kid could have a Pro Bowl or possibly an all-pro season in this new scheme. And he obviously regressed, took a big step back. And then, you know, the moves that they made in terms of their corners that they brought in whether it was Rock Yassin, Anthony Averett, or any of the other guys that they plugged and played in there. And there's a few of those undrafted free agents that did play very well. It just wasn't good enough there in the secondary. Deron Harmon, obviously, one of those guys that was all over the place, was always kind of around the ball, but he needs some help as well. We'll see if they bring him back. But, you got to get Max Crosby some help along that defensive line. They got to be able to establish something outside of him. And that's another guy where, again, talking about all pro and the list of guys got out there, he's obviously a guy that, many feel got snubbed. And you look at it, but it's tough because the offense can concentrate all their attention on him along the offensive line, which you wouldn't expect that to be the case when you've got a guy like Chandler Jones opposite of him. So you need more out of him, and you're going to need more out of the second level as well. We all know what Denzel Perryman can do. The guy is a heat-seeking missile, so I'm excited to see him continue to grow in all of this. But, there needs to be some work and some depth at a lot of the positions. But I think, number one, address the secondary for sure.
I think you
absolutely. You're absolutely right on that.
I would go defensive and up front first, but that's just me. I'm a point of attack kind of guy.
Yeah.
In either case, you can't go wrong. I'm looking at the draft. I look at this as the whole speculation is on what happens with the quarterback play. They don't appear to be very high on drafting a rookie, so obviously I would expect that top draft pick would get used on a premium defender, which is absolutely what they need to do. But if they were, let's say for grins and giggles, able to re-sign Jarrett Stidham at a nice backup contract and then bring in Tom Brady, conceivably the offense would be intact minus a few adjustments on the offensive line. And then they'd be able to invest all their draft capital and some of the remaining cap space on the defense. How do they fit? And I know we addressed the areas, but do you have any guys that you have in mind that actually will help them fix it?
Man, it's a tough one. I'll be honest. I haven't started a lot of my draft prep, now the season just ended and whatnot. But so in terms of specific names, I won't be a whole lot of help there. But I mean, look, you need guys that can clog space up the middle. A lot of times we did see this team struggle against the run. So, you need guys that are just space eaters, especially up the gut. And then, someone opposite of Max Crosby who can, consistently rush the quarterback and break the edge, much like he's able to do, and get to that point as well. And at corner, I think specifically in this defense, like so many times it just seemed like they were playing, they played a lot of zone, a lot of off coverage, real soft. Like I want to see someone that's going to get in there and get in the receiver space and collision this dude and knock him off his route, his timing, mess up the timing of the quarterback and stuff like that. So those are kind of like the traits that I'm looking for, and like I said, I got to do more draft prep to start throwing actual names out there defensively. But, those are guys or skill sets, that I really want to see from this team defensively in those areas.
Absolutely. Definitely a whole lot more aggression. Jones?
Yeah.
No, I mean, seriously, like we said, we got to attack inside, especially in the interior side. You got to give Max Crosby help. I mean, we don't know how well Chandler Jones is going to be able to recover from his injury.
Yeah.
He might. I mean, shoot, we don't know. There's possibilities. Like, he's up in age. He could say, shoot, I'm going to just go on and retire. I mean, yeah, you got Malcolm Kuntz, but you need to plan on, like, okay, worst case scenario, it's not just an interior guy because, I mean, yeah, we do have Bilal Nichols, but he's more of a rotational guy. Mm-hmm. He's someone that, okay, he's played inside for a pass rush. He can help with run defense, but sometimes he gets kicked out on the outside. If you go back to where he was playing at Delaware State, University of Delaware, and then also playing over it for the Bears. So if I'm the Raiders, there are two things I'm looking to get. I'm looking to get an edge rusher, and I'm also looking to get an interior D lineman that can clog the middle. So that being said, we said secondary and we said D-line, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We need help. We still going to need help on those linebackers. We need depth.
100%.
Big time.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing is, like, again, outside of Denzel Perryman, Divine Diablo has shown some good things, but for him, the tough part has been staying healthy throughout his career. He hasn't been able to do that, and so, also, what is it? Darian, I know I'm messing up his first name, but Butler.
Butler,
yeah, the two rookies played well when they had to step in. Like, I'll be honest, I was impressed with them. But at the end of the day, too, they played like rookies. A lot of times when I go back and watch the tape, just a step behind or a step overstepping the play itself, that open the door for some big runs. So, and again, are those guys that they want to put a lot of faith in moving forward, or are those more so developmental guys, depth type pieces, or special teamers, so that's going to be the interesting thing to see, what they do on the second level of the defense. But having said that, I don't think that's necessarily going to be a huge point of emphasis for them just because of what the NFL is. I mean, in the world we live in now with these wide open offenses, more often than not, they're only going to have two linebackers. So the big question is going to be, how do they feel about Divine Diablo and his development moving forward? And if they don't feel very good about it, then I think they bring in some more guys specifically at his position to address things. But again, I think more than anything else, it's the secondary as a whole, safety corner, someone that can come up and play in the box, things like that, that I think they're going to be looking at much more because of the way the NFL is now, where the linebacking position isn't necessarily used as often.
So do you leave Nate Hobbs out wide, or do you bring him back into the corner / slot?
Yeah, I think you leave him out wide. I mean, I like what he did before the season started. I kind of thought, okay, maybe they're going to come in here and put this guy outside. We obviously saw what he could do in the slot, but I think he's a guy that needs to stay outside because again, there's going to be more defensive backs on the field, and more often than not, like, you're going to have a nickel out there. Having said that, like, I want him matched up against whoever the top guy is and following him, unless they get somebody that, is another shutdown type corner type of guy. But I think Nate Hobbs is one of those dudes that can kind of play all over the place, but I like him on the outside, what he was able to do more often than not. Again, just a couple games down the stretch here when he came back from injury that weren't so great. But the things that he did show me, on a more consistent basis in this defense, I love to see it. So I would really like to see him stay outside. And I think that's what we're going to see.
Interesting.
Absolutely. And then, let's see, that's what? Hobbs still on the roster. And then you also would have a Mick Robertson still on the roster. Yeah, you're going to need to fill in some holes.
Yeah.
Now,
I like Amik. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Phil. I like Amik. The thing with me is he's just too streaky. He'll come through with plays, and obviously, like, we saw the picks that he got some key times and the pick sixes and whatnot. But to me, just too streaky. And you see that game against the Niners. He and the other DBs as well were getting victimized by Ayuk. And I hate to say it because I really like Amik. I love talking to the guy, but man, he's a dude that just needs to figure out a way to play more consistent, good football. Way too streaky, victimized at times. Teams obviously going after him. So I'll be curious to see what he looks like, with another offseason in this system, to kind of look at a full year's worth of tape and see what he can kind of improve on. Because coming out of college, his ball skills were insane. And his tape, was a lot of fun to watch. So I would love to see that guy coming back. And if that's the case, like, this secondary, if they add one more piece, is going to be scary because of the things that, he should be able to do with what his tape shows from college.
nah, you hit on it.
It's an interesting spin. Look, you are definitely right about the ball skills, and streaky is probably the best way to describe it, because it was kind of one of those hot cold situations where either he was getting it done, or like you said, it was out there and he was getting little brothered.
Yeah.
But
There was a lot of little brother going on.
Till he got mad. Jerry,
that's the thing. Look, there's some dudes, like, you piss them off, they're going to be better football players. And Amik, I think, is one of those dudes. Anytime someone would start talking, we'd always, afterwards, it was really funny. There's one of the reporters out here, Adam Hill, multiple times I'd see after games, he's like, hey, was so-and-so talking? And I know why he's asking that question, because he knows, like, if someone's talking to Amik and he's talking trash, like, that dude's going to come bring it even more. And so, I enjoy that aspect of it. Like, I was one of those guys, like, in my time as a player, I was always very much so, you piss me off and you're not going to like what you see out there. So I can get behind those type of guys. But you also have to figure out a way to flip that switch so it's not just when you're mad.
Right. No, most def. Yeah. So if you had to handicap the quarterback race, or before we even get to that, did you see Aaron Rodgers' last game in Green Bay?
I caught bits and pieces of that one. I was here at work while that was going down, but I did catch some bits and pieces of it.
Did you happen to catch his walk off the field?
Yeah, when Jamal asked for his jersey, right?
Yeah, well, not just that, but just the whole thing. Because as I was watching his face when he was doing that slow circle, I was like, that looks like the farewell look if ever I seen one.
Yeah, so that paired with the thing when Jamal asked for his jersey and he was like, I think I'm going to hold on to this one.
Yeah.
That to me struck me as a guy that's like, wait, I mean, because Aaron Rodgers has been playing for how long? How many jerseys does he have? What's he need a jersey from a game in the regular season that he lost that could have gotten them to the postseason for? So that to me, definitely, I think that paired with, like you said, the walkout leads me to believe that's a guy that's at least got at the very least, has a lot on his mind and is at least pondering like, hey, I may be one, hanging him up, or two, getting the hell out of Green Bay. Whatever that is, who knows?
So what Green Bay media has been saying, Green Bay's not going to be able to handle that contract for next year.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like you brought in what's his name, Love. You know, you got to give the kid a shot at some point.
Exactly.
You don't want to push one of the best to ever do it at the position out the door. Like, don't get me wrong. But you draft a quarterback to use the rookie deal to build around him. And, so you're just going to have the kid sit forever. It, to me, just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And if the writing's on the wall and you think you're not, one piece away from competing for a championship, why not trade him while you can and get something crazy in return to help build yourself for the future and try and turn this thing around to make yourselves what you have been, what team that's always a contender each and every year with that man at quarterback, and try and surround the kid with some top players and get him some receivers again. They're not going to find another Devontae probably, but who knows? We'll see what happens with them. But I'm curious to see how that all plays out.
Yeah, I mean, look, Christian Watson, he's pretty damn good.
Yeah,
I mean,
he shows himself.
So I mean, that's a start right there. They got guys there. Problem is, their O-line has been shaky. David Carr. When the last time we seen him play a full season?
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't know.
So when you look at that, I mean, the problem is they got a pretty decent defense. Their O-line is just you need to call the Pope and just go on and like bless, just go and throw some holy water on them, bless them, whatever you got to do. But Rodgers, I think he's like, I need like an offense where I can just sit back and just kind of do my thing. I'm not saying like, we could go on and grab him. I'm not gonna say that. I mean, anything can happen. Because I'm gonna be real, a lot of us didn't think that we were gonna get Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
And then also look at the situation in Baltimore.
Yeah. That's another interesting one. The reports that are coming out of there today, that was the first I'd heard of it, just because once the season's done, I kind of like unplugged from football for a couple of days and looking around. Yeah, and I love being able to actually watch the playoffs. Like, don't get me wrong, it'd be great if the Raiders make it in, but it's nice to be able to watch as a fan after the fact. Right. Hearing those reports out of Baltimore that they're saying it's a done deal, like, and people saying they're gonna have to, franchise tag him and trade him or something crazy or do whatever. Figure like that stuff is nuts to me. So how it got apparently so bad out there is crazy. Having said that, you can't let Lamar walk. Like they built their whole team and their offense around him, So I don't know.
So speaking of Lamar, so what's it gonna cost?
I mean,
well, his value dropped
with a billion zeros on the end of it.
All right. Well, you can't do that because he's got an injury now. The injuries kept him out the last month and a half, heading into the playoffs
right now, Lamar. Right now, I got a check for you, Lamar. Come on.
Go ahead, sign it. Whatever. You stupid. But no, so when I go down my list, I got my list of 1A obviously would be Lamar, 1B would be Brady. 1C is we don't really have a 1C. It's just kind of down there at the bottom somewhere. I got bringing Stiddy back as a backup with an opportunity to compete for the starting role would be best for the team. And then if you can do one of those options, you don't need to draft a quarterback, or you could be looking at possibly rolling the dice and going with Stiddy and drafting one.
Yeah, that's honestly, so that last one is what I think they're going to do. all this talk about Brady and everything like that, I 100% get it. And people out there are saying like it is too obvious to pass up and all this stuff. But I look at a couple things, and this is what makes me think, why would Brady do it? One, he left New England. Look how much quote unquote like fun dude was having in Tampa, just being away from like the structure that New England had. I don't know that he wants to go back to that.
I don't. But I can't say that's with Ziegler and McDaniels. I think that's more of just Bill.
It is, but I will say like just from what I hear in the organization and everything like that, guys are still getting their social media scrubbed, nonstop watched, monitored by people in there. Like it is very much a still, and I have multiple friends that are out here in the business covering the team that previously worked in Boston, and have even said for the narrative that is out there about the whole New England West thing and all of that, it's not 100% true, but there are definitely elements of it. And so, maybe it's a New England light type of thing. So maybe Brady, wants to have a little bit of it, but not. But also too, I'm curious, how much he kind of jived with McDaniel's personality. But then on top of that, we talk about the offensive line, and look at the O-line that this Raiders team has. I mean, if I'm Brady, I'm thinking, hell no, I don't want to play in front of those dudes. Like, because look,
I put it like this: you get him a right guard, I think you'll be all right. If you want to swap James to right guard and then go on and get you a center, I say go on and get kid from Michigan. I think you'd be all right.
I just, if I'm Brady, I just don't want any part of that. But also, not only the O-line, but the defense as well. And again, I understand if and when now it is 100% a when they move on from Derek Carr, they're going to have over $60 million in cap space to be able to address a whole lot of different things. I just still am like, why go to that situation when there are better situations out there? So for me, I think the Brady thing would be great. I would love to cover it. Don't get me wrong. Like having Brady out here would make my job very interesting and so very relevant on the national scene of things as well. Right. But I personally don't see it happening. But I'd love to be wrong on this one and see Brady walk through those doors and cover that, because that'd be real interesting. I think a more realistic one would be a Garoppolo, possibly coming in here. I see the look on your face there. Look what this man has done. And I understand. Don't get me wrong. I totally understand it. And look, I have a lot of friends that are Niners fans, and I hate on them nonstop because I just don't like the 49ers and never have. Just growing up in Southern California with a bunch of people that are Niners fans, I wasn't a fan of them. So any chance I get to make fun of them or their team, I do. And looking at Garoppolo and what Purdy has been able to do in his place in this offense, and the fact that they're not, asking a ton of him in that, but you look at the man's record and what he's done with that team. To me, I'm just like, man, you put him here, you give him the weapons that he did. Also, look what he did under McDaniels and how much money they paid that guy to come to San Fran. Obviously, people around the league like what he had to do. But I think what they're going to end up doing is bringing Stidham back, and he's going to be the not the guy, but the guy to compete for the starting job and kind of lead the way. And I think they draft a rookie at 7, because look, how often are you going to be in the top 10 and in a position to grab a quarterback in this league, a kid that possibly you think is going to be the future? And they talk about Rome not being built in a day and want to build this thing for long-term success. Yeah. Well, you do that, as we talked about earlier, by getting the kid on a young rookie contract and building around him, and then also getting him in your scheme, and you're set for the next 10, 15 years if you hit on this guy. And I know the draft's a crapshoot, but I think that's the way that they're going to end up going ultimately in this one. Instead of can come in and kind of tutor the kid and be the guy until he's not anymore.
Well, we always say the draft's a crapshoot, but it all goes on. Who are your coaches? Yeah. What is your staff able to do? They have to be able to develop the talent. Mm-hmm. Now, one thing that's been, I'm going to put it like this, and Phil gets on me about staying up so late on the East Coast. A lot. Because I'm always dibbling and dabbling, trying to figure, all right, what's going on? Let me see. Let me reach out to this person. Let me reach out to that person, knowing I should be sleeping. It's 2 a.m. But what if there's a possibility that we could trade with one of the top 14. Well, I'll say top 3.
In order to get up there, I mean, who's your guy you're trying to take in doing so?
Well, for starters, we got to wait Monday. We got to wait Monday to see what's going on with C.J. Stroud for him to declare. Second thing is, everybody's saying the Bears are going to take Bryce Young. That's not going to happen. Bears, they're fine with Justin Fields. Justin Fields actually did pretty good. You just have to surround people around him.
Yeah,
desperate.
And that's why I feel like maybe the Bears could trade out of that pick and just load up. And then you look at the Texans. To be honest, that defense, we talk about our defense, but that defense, I got a weird feeling that they're going to try to fix it. You know, when they took Jadeveon Clowney and we took Khalil Mack, I think they're going to take a guy that's kind of like Khalil Mack. They're going to take maybe a Will Anderson, you know.
Little birdie told
Arizona
me
has
on the list.
Hey, Arizona doesn't have a coach currently or a general manager right now.
Nope.
Yeah. But they did.
They're
They
like,
did
look,
just pay Kyler Murray $1 bajillion, so they ain't taking a quarterback.
No,
exactly.
Well, I don't think, honestly, I don't think he's going to be there too much longer. I think that once he gets healthy, he might be a candidate to be moved.
You know what? I'm gonna stop that right there because I think the real problem, the guy just got fired.
Exactly. But not necessarily him being the problem,
right?
But I think you look at that and you think of look who the owner chose.
Mm-hmm.
He chose Kyler Murray. He came the coach and everything like that. I mean, if you were going to try and move Kyler Murray, you probably keep Cliff Kingsbury and the GM who's been there for a long time, you know, a guy that he seemingly had a lot of trust in. So, you know, I think to me that screams he's choosing the quarterback over the coaching staff and the GM in that sense. And whoever comes in there, coming expecting to have Kyler Murray.
You look at the guys they had on that team, and then it was a guy that I know John Gruden wanted to death. He wanted him on the Raiders. Was it Andy Isabella?
Yeah.
And they didn't even utilize him right.
Yeah.
Had all that talent. They loaded up on so much talent and didn't utilize him right. Cliff Kingsbury did not get the job done.
No, couldn't agree more on that front.
Everybody got hyped on he had Patrick Mahomes. I said, no, don't bite into that. It's a trap.
It's a trap.
Admiral Aardvark, it's a trap. Don't take him.
Don't do it.
That's great. Yeah, I think the way the draft plays out, you mentioned C.J. Stroud. To me, you know, and obviously, look, every quarterback is, aside from Bryce Young, is probably going to shift to 10 different teams in the top 10 and all those different things. Yeah. But, you know, I look at it and I see C.J. Stroud, and he just, to me, screams that he belongs in this system. I think that's going to end up being the guy. And obviously, again, as you noted, got to wait until he officially declares. But I think we probably all know where that's going, you know, and so I think he's going to be the guy that they kind of hone in on. Also, too, I mean, don't rule out the Raiders trading back. And let's realize the fact, too, that they were out there. There were reports throughout the year that they were out there watching Anthony Richardson from Florida, too. You know, another guy maybe they have their eye on. So who knows?
Not just him. You know, let's see. This guy had his injury back in October? And this guy has a chance to, you know, come back in, be ready for 2024. Malik Hooker.
Hendon Hooker?
I mean, yeah. Hendon Hooker, yeah.
I was gonna say 9 months. 9 months would put him at about June, so he could conceivably
be ready by training camp. Yeah,
conceivably.
Yeah, I think if that's the guy that they look at, that's something they look at trading out of that spot for, because I don't think he ends up going in the top 10. You know,
I mean, you can still keep your first round pick. You probably get Hendon Hooker probably late second round.
Yeah, I'd imagine so at the very least. But yeah, I don't know. I just think for me, did they? Unless again, maybe these guys are playing chess and we're all playing checkers. Who knows? And they're honed in on somebody that they think they can get in the second or third round. But I think again, if you're in the top 10, you're looking to lock down the premium position of football. And there's a couple guys that that could work there that people are high on. But again, in Stroud, I see a guy that fits this system very well.
Absolutely.
I did too. Looking at him, especially the system, it looks a lot similar to what Ryan Day is doing at Ohio State.
Yeah.
My knock on Stroud is that he doesn't move enough to my liking.
Yeah. Neither did some guy that everyone's talking about coming here as well. That just so happens to go by the name of the GOAT.
True.
Yep.
True that. You got anything for Jesse Jones?
Jesse, man. Oh, that was the guy. You say you wanted to figure out a guy to look at coming out in the draft. I got it right here. Had to pull out my little book. Gerard Clark. Gerard Clark, nose tackle. D tackle from what was it? Coastal Carolina.
Okay. I couldn't tell you much about him, to be completely honest. So you tell me.
I can tell you. He'll clog up that middle. Like, homeboy will clog up that middle, something that we're looking for. So I get eyes on him in Mobile, so I'll be stalking him and be like, okay, what you gonna do next?
Man on the ground there looking at all of you. Gotta be following Dave Ziegler and them around like a hawk.
You already know.
In his eye as he's right behind him in a clipboard.
Yeah. He's sitting right behind him to figure out where the heck he's looking and how long he's looking at it.
I'm just like, hold on, he's at this angle. Hold on, he's looking right here. Hold on, what is he looking right down there?
Yeah.
Shoot. I'm not even gonna say what I was going to say because I don't want to put that out there and have everybody watching you closer than they should be. With your unlicensed videos coming out of Mobile.
Right.
Oh my God.
Oh man, this has been a blast, Jesse. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on.
Of course, you guys. I appreciate it. Always a good time.
Hey, real quick. So what about Cam Rising?
Ooh, man. Okay, so for Cam Rising, I think he's one of those dudes, you look at him, he's one of those gritty type of guys and whatnot, and, one of those dudes that everyone will get behind. But I don't know. And I could be very wrong on this. I looking at him, I don't see a dude that's going to end up being like, some superstar quarterback in the NFL. But again, I hope I'm wrong because I enjoyed watching him in the Pac-12 championship, and anytime I've turned on a Utah game and seen him, like he has a lot of the qualities that you want in terms of like the intangibles of your quarterback, and the attitude that he's got and all that stuff. But, I just look at that team and I look at the defense that they have and everything like that, I want to see what this kid can do, obviously on an NFL team, but maybe when he doesn't have a setup like that defensively. Because again, as we noted with Derek Carr, has had a defense that has been lackluster over the years. So I want somebody that's going to come in and maybe not have to rely on something like that.
No doubt. All right. So, then, thank you. Take this opportunity. Thank all the fans. Thank you for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. Tell a friend. Jesse Merrick, News3LV, the sports interpreter. You got to make sure you stay real highbrow with the pinky up.
Oh, yeah. The pinky up on that one for sure.
Right on, brother. All right, everybody. Take care. God bless. We out.